Now, many of my subscribers know that I love the character of Gohan, but what if the character of Gohan was changed in its entirety just by changing one simple thing? A single thing that in itself is just another important moment in Dragon Ball could entirely change a whole aspect of the franchise as we know it. In today's edition of Dragon Talk, we discuss what if Raditz took Gohan. So before we get into the what if in this scenario, we have to go over what happens beforehand and how we get to the defining moment. So in this situation, Raditz still comes to Earth, takes Gohan, and then demands Goku kill Earthlings to get his son back. The story still goes as normal, with Piccolo showing up to help Goku, even though at this point, Goku is still unsure about Piccolo's intentions. When they arrive there, Raditz, instead of just tossing Gohan into the pod, decides that he doesn't want to take any chances and knocks Gohan out in the process, and this'll benefit him so much in hindsight. Now we're in the final moments of the battle between Raditz, Goku, and Piccolo where everything changes. As Piccolo is charging the special beam cannon and launches it at Raditz, Raditz is able to use whatever strength he has left to flip Goku over his head to avoid being hit with the beam directly, but still getting hit to the point of extreme damage. After this, Piccolo is stunned to see a barely alive Raditz, standing there boasting that Piccolo is all alone and Kakarot is now dead. Then Piccolo tells Raditz that if he thinks Goku is gone for good, he's mistaken, and tells Raditz about the Dragon Balls and how Goku's friends will for sure bring him back. Ready to kill Piccolo where he stands, his scouter goes off as he sees that more power levels are on their way, and that is of the crew arriving in Bulma's air cruiser. Knowing that he can't get away from having to fight fully powered warriors in this damaged state, he decides to jump into his pod and shoot away with Gohan still in his possession. He then contacts his fellow Saiyans that his mission was unsuccessful to recruit Kakarot, but that he has his brat son and that he also has learned of something that may interest them. Back on Earth, Piccolo is confronted by the others and is rigorously asked what happened. Piccolo, not wanting to be bothered and still processing what just happened, decides to leave for the Wastelands again, but this time without Gohan. So with this, the character of Piccolo won't change into the caring individual he does when he trains Gohan in the original story. We then see Piccolo being torn by happiness and worry because he defeated his rival, but also now has a suspicion of Raditz still being out there. In this situation, the Z Warriors don't find out anything more about the Saiyans, or any threat to the Earth. All they know is that Goku is dead and they need to wish him back. Now Goku, even though he doesn't immediately know of danger coming towards the Earth, still wants to train with King Kai and still goes down Snake Way. We then see Raditz join up with the other Saiyans on the planet we see Nappa and Vegeta on in the manga and in the anime. Here he throws Gohan on the ground in front of the other two Saiyans and they seem very unimpressed. Vegeta goes as far as to saying Gohan is a waste of space and wouldn't even help in the slightest. Raditz, feeling angered after losing on Earth and then being told he's a failure, really makes him want to make sure that Gohan becomes an asset. Raditz also informs the other two Saiyans about the Dragon Balls that apparently can be used to wish someone back to life. Raditz only knows of them bringing people back to life because Piccolo didn't go into detail about the Dragon Balls. The Saiyans then remember the name Dragon Balls from a legend of magical orbs on the planet Namek. So, in this situation, we learned of planet Namek earlier, but now the Saiyans know that they also exist on a planet with a lower level. With this, they decide that in tandem they can get rid of all the people Raditz couldn't defeat and then use the wish on themselves. After agreeing on this new plan, the other two Saiyans tell Raditz that the boy is his responsibility, and that if he doesn't obey their orders, they will not hesitate to kill him. Even though Raditz doesn't have an attachment to the boy, emotionally he wants to train him to spite the others. When Gohan awakes, he wakes to see Raditz, who he then immediately tries to run away from until Raditz grabs his tail, disorienting him. After he calms the boy down, he tells him that his father decided to abandon him and let him be taken. Obviously, this is a lie and Gohan doesn't believe it at first, but Raditz yells at him to listen to him or he will kill him. He then gives Gohan Saiyan armor and tells him that if his father loved him, he wouldn't have let him take him away. Gohan can't believe this, but tells Raditz that he just wants to go home. Raditz tells Gohan that the only way he can go home is if he proves himself, so he will send him to a planet to conquer for the Frieza Force. Back on Earth, the Z group decides that getting the Dragon Balls is the next step to getting Goku back. Then after that, they can wish for Gohan to be returned to Earth. After this, we get sent back to Otherworld, where we see Goku training with King Kai and trying to catch Bubbles. In this story, Goku isn't constrained to a time limit as the Saiyans aren't immediately heading to Earth. So Goku can train at a normal pace with King Kai, and this will become more important in the future. Back on the insect planet, the Saiyans are planning their attack on Earth when Raditz informs them that he'll be sending Gohan to a low-level planet to train him for the upcoming mission. Vegeta doesn't care too much as he still views Gohan as a runt and doesn't believe that he will help at all. Raditz puts the coordinates in the pod and sends Gohan off, but before he lets him go, he says, "Remember why you're doing this." Gohan, still scared and doesn't know what is happening, gets thrown into the pod and sent away to a planet not so far away from the planet Nappa, Vegeta, and Raditz are on. On Earth, the warriors are all at Kame House when Chi-Chi arrives and is outraged. In this story, nobody's told her yet that Goku is dead and that Gohan's been taken. This is very similar to the actual story, except Gohan was still on Earth, as nobody knows where he is in the universe in this story. They then inform her of their plan, but she faints from the thought of her whole family possibly being dead. Fast forward a few days in the other world, Goku has trained to be used to the planet's gravity, and now is actually ready to be taught techniques from King Kai. Here King Kai tells Goku that his son has been taken by his brother, and that more Saiyans exist in the universe powerful than him. Goku is concerned for his son, but knows that he will have to train as hard as he can to get him back, especially if the other Saiyans are way stronger than Raditz. We then see Gohan on this secluded planet with a city in the distance, and as he's heading towards it, hoping that he can find somebody who can get him home. But as he's going towards the city, he sees a vehicle of some sort coming towards him, so he yells and is crying running towards them. But as the vehicle stops and people get out, you can see that they're soldiers who were coming to investigate the crash. The soldiers laugh at Gohan because he's crying and they decide to rough him up a bit. They then begin to kick Gohan around and they say something along the lines of, "A little orphan whose parents abandoned him. How sad." This infuriates Gohan because he still does not believe that his father gave him away, so Gohan powers up and takes each soldier one by one, screaming. After this, Gohan keeps running towards the city when out of nowhere he stops. He feels something deep within him that he's never felt before. He looks up to see the moon in its full phase beaming down onto him. Before we know it, Gohan transforms into a great ape and only has one thing on his mind: destroy. Gohan demolishes the city as people flee and blasts radiate from his mouth, destroying anything in its wake. This goes on for hours and then days. This is because the planet Raditz sent him to has nights that last 3 Earth days. This gives them enough time to destroy whatever population is left and then power down and pass out. During the time Gohan has fallen asleep, Raditz comes to see what has become of the planet and sees that there's no more power readings left and only one remains, and that is Gohan. Standing over Gohan's sleeping body, Raditz realizes that the boy is truly a Saiyan after all. He then reports to other Frieza Force members that the planet has been taken. He then gets ready to put Gohan back into his pod when a shadow is cast over them. We then cut back to Piccolo, who's meditating in the wasteland, when all of a sudden he's contacted by his other half, Kami. Kami informs an uninterested Piccolo that if the Saiyans come back to Earth, he will not be able to fight them alone. He insists that Piccolo help the others to find the Dragon Balls to help Goku, who is training in the other world. Piccolo scoffs at the idea because there's no way he would contribute to bringing back his rival. This still puts worry into Piccolo's mind though, as he tried to block out the possibility that the Saiyans may come back. So he decides he's going to do his own mental and physical training to make sure he's prepared. Back on the unnamed planet, we see a man with a turban-like hat that breaks Raditz's scouter. Baffled, Raditz begins to fight the mystery person, and he realizes that he has some sort of power that's too much for even him. This mystery person does not fight Raditz back because he only has one target. Gohan, the murderer of his people, is now incapacitated, and he can now strike. The sound of the ground rumbling and Raditz trying to fight the man wake a slumbering Gohan as he looks up terrified at the sight of this person reaching towards him. But out of nowhere, Raditz flies in and kicks the attacker away with a blow to the head. Raditz then yells for Gohan to run to the pod that the coordinates are already put in. After Gohan runs and finds a way to the pod, he begins to take off when the mystery man appears right in front of the pod. He then throws the pod to the ground with Gohan flying out and being severely hurt. The man, in a flash, then puts a punch straight to Gohan's gut, making him cough up blood onto his armor. Raditz then realizes that he should leave the boy, but something in him decides that he needs to keep him to prove the others wrong. So before he can even move, the man appears in front of Raditz and throws him towards Gohan, who is near Raditz's pod. The man stands over them while holding his hand out, charging a blast, but then puts his hand down. The man, even though not having anyone to go to, decides to spare the others as he cannot live with killing a child, and he then disappears. Raditz then throws Gohan into his pod with disgust, and hops into the pod and heads back towards Nappa and Vegeta. We're left with a shot of the pod going into space, and then nothing. I hope you guys enjoyed that first part of the read-through of what happens if Raditz took Gohan. I decided to do it in a little bit different of a way than a normal what if video. Usually they like to go over like certain parts, this is what happens, and then kind of generalize it. I decided that I would actually write a story and tell you guys what happens. Now, of course, a lot of it is nonsense because it's, I have to make up a lot of filler, but at least at this beginning part, things are a little bit different, and there is some side story that I had to throw in there. But anyways, again, hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I hope you guys have a magic day.